When people first see Kurai Mamoru, they usually think he's another determined protagonist trying to save everyone. While that's partially true, he was never intended to be a hero, but I guess one can see that and say he is. But the reality of it is, he was designed to be a contradiction. He's a person chasing something beautiful while slowly becoming something, and you'll have to find out more later in my book. Today I wanted to talk about how I created and the thought process of him, and he's the main character, and how I got the ideas to shape him from the very beginning. The question I ask myself is, every character starts with a question, right? So, for mine was simple, I think. What would happen if someone genuinely wanted to save everyone? Not the village, not the friends, everyone. At first, it really sounds noble, but the more I think about it, it will become more impossible. Because when you think about it, eventually, saving everyone means making harder choices. Every choice can potentially hurt someone. Or if not, it always hurts someone in one way. So I became interested in the idea that a character whose dream sounds heroic, but is it? This is why Kurai is different. A lot of protagonists begin their stories wanting something to achieve something they can realistically achieve, right? But become the strongest king, a leader. But I made his goal intentionally impossible. And I want to reveal, like, later in the books, in the series, if you guys like my first one, a why and how he words a certain thing. There's a lot of plans I have for him. And I want him, and you'll see it, he's going to say something and you'll understand his motive. And in return for this, whenever I tell you, reality doesn't work this way. The more impossible a dream becomes, the more pressure it puts on a person. His overall biggest flaw was when I was creating him, I didn't want his weakness to be physical. I want it to be emotional, considering the whole story is an emotional story, and it's based on emotions. He cannot fathom loss, nor can he accept it. That's the core of this character. And most people eventually learn that things can be changed, Kurai refuses that. He sees suffering and wants to diminish it. Death, he wants to face it. And he even sees pain and believes there's got to be a way to stop it for good. But later, does it? The central theme of Crimson Banner is, do you make friends? Do friends make you stronger, or do they make you weaker? He sits directly in the center of that conflict, because every relationship, interaction, action he has impacts him in some way, and it changes him. Every friendship that he could potentially gain gives him a reason to keep moving towards his impossible goal. As the story progresses, you'll see those connections become both his greatest strength and his greatest burden. Why I made him emotional. Now, in reality, I love characters who feel things deeply, because I myself am an emotional person, so I heavily relate to a lot of these things. But it's not for the sake of being emotion because it's emotion. It's because emotion creates decisions, it creates stories. And he's the character that doesn't just calmly analyzes everything. He acts, he reacts, he's human. And he is just based off an instinct. I wanted readers to understand exactly why he does the thing that he does, and even if they disagree with what it is. One of my favorite parts about writing him was that his story isn't a straight line, just like most people isn't. It's a gradual transformation. And there's a lot of things I can't say right now because I don't want you to know about it, and I kind of want you to see if you can figure it out, what he slowly becomes in my later books if you ever like this first one. But he fits in this world, Crimson Banner, because it's a harsh world. It's a world filled with conflict, suffering, and impossible choices. I wanted a protagonist whose beliefs would constantly clash with something like that. Like with that reality. You know, everywhere Kurai goes, the world tells him the same thing. Some people can't be saved. Every time he hears it, he deflects it. That's the big clash of ideals he has between reality and himself, and that's what drives my story forward. Not just the fights, not the powers, but the battle between what is and what should be. Vessel Essence Connection. Now, in one of my earlier videos, I did talk about Vessel Essence, and if you remember the whole thing, I could reveal as much as I could. Now, this is a connection that reflects Kurai's character, but as well as everyone. VE is born from intense emotions, and Kurai is someone who experiences emotions at an extreme level, like his hope, his anger, his grief. And it fuels the power within him, just like it does everyone else. Which the thing that makes him so strong is it also threatens to consume him. And that is a huge part in his design. I made him simple, but I also just made him super complex on the inside. His visual design is very simple, and I have concept designs that you've seen throughout this video. But when you look at my book, and you read it, you analyze what can and what can't be, I want you to think about what I've said today about Kurai. Because Kurai isn't just a protagonist. He is the definition of what is and what can't be. So, when people ask me who Kurai Mamoru is, I don't think of him as a hero. I don't think of him as a villain. I think of him desperately trying to create a world that shouldn't be possible. Someone who wants to save everyone. Someone who refuses to accept loss. And someone that may discover that path to saving the world can be just as destructive as the world itself. That's how I wrote Kurai Mamoru. And this is only the beginning of your journey. Thank you for watching, and if you're interested in seeing more behind the scenes content about Crimson Banner, be sure to subscribe.